That's absolutely true.
So when you are seeing all this UAP disclosure talk and all this stuff, what is your take on this stuff?
So I've talked to people, Ryan Graves, who you've had on. I've talked to, I actually did a podcast with his wingman, one of his former Navy pilot wingmen.
I listened to it.
Yeah, oh, good, thanks.
It's very good.
Yeah, I shouldn't have
Great
said thanks
discussion.
before you said it was good.
It was very good. It was very, very interesting.
I appreciate it. I'll put that on my resume. So we talked, and remember earlier, like 2 hours ago, I was going to ask you for advice, and I'm such a blabbermouth, I didn't get to ask you for advice as a podcaster.
Yes.
The advice I want to ask you is when you're talking to somebody, and for one reason or another, maybe it's your past history, maybe it's research that you've done independently that even an expert hasn't done, and you're thinking this person's wrong, or this person's making a mistake. Has that ever happened to you? And if so, how do you deal with that as a podcaster?
It's complicated. I mean, I always do or try to do my very best to let someone express himself fully before I interject. But there are some times where you have to say that's not true. That this is not what you're saying has been disproven, and this is like we should show how it's been disproven. Or you could be talking about something that I'm an expert in. Like if someone wants to like from UFC, for example, if somebody wants to say, there's only if you wanted to fight in the UFC, all you need to do is learn kung fu. If someone said that, and I'd be like, you're out of your mind.
Or it's as fake as wrestling, right? Yeah. You could say you're totally floating.
Well, that's someone that's delusional. But I mean, anybody who watches the fights, they know they're real. But if someone had like this very distorted perspective on something that I know a lot about, maybe I would be like, that you shouldn't say that because this is why that's not accurate.
So I'm talking to Ryan Graves, and I've talked to Lieutenant Ann Dietrich, who is the wing woman, I guess you'd say, of Commander David Fravor, who you've had on. I've talked to them, and I've talked to them. Okay, look, I'm a pilot. I fly little Cessnas around. It's not going to be like, I'm talking to Super Hornet pilots. I'm like a schmuck, right? But, when you see things like, I'm told, like, I can't question them because I didn't serve in the military, or they have great hand-eye coordination, or they're trained observers. I actually know. My flight instructor told me a couple of things. He said to me, you relying on hand-eye coordination, or you relying on your innate abilities as a pilot, or your your ability to perceive things is going to get you killed. And he wasn't like some military pilot. I don't know what my stepfather was, but the point being, you're trained to ignore your senses and pay attention to your instruments. Therefore, the human factor is irrelevant. Like the fact that he can land on an F-18 on a carrier at night in the middle of a typhoon doesn't have anything to do with the fact that like he is not necessarily better at judging evidence versus me as a scientist or even as a layperson. Okay. So we're talking, and then I hear things like, well, he witnessed this, or he saw this, or he has data about this. And by the way, he's been to my house. I've had him for Shabbat dinner, and I like Ryan a lot, and I like Ann Dietrich, and Fravor sounds really great. When you hear them say things, and then they will say things like you and Eric talked about, okay? They're defying the laws of physics, or these things cannot occur within what we understand about physics.
Right.
They're not physicists, and I'm not a pilot, okay? But we can use our various skills. When I see things like, he saw this. No, he didn't see it. He didn't claim to see it. And even in your interview, Ryan Graves did not see anything with his eyes. He saw things on radar with a system that was newly upgraded in the Super Hornet Mark D that he was flying, okay? Recently upgraded.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Fravor and Dietrich, when they were flying, they saw things and they tried to perceive them from great altitude, something the size of a school bus, and how fast it was moving relative to the ground. Okay, then there's data. Then there's things from the Princeton. So I've looked into these things. I know the limitations. I know an awful lot about radio technology, radar sensing. So I don't think that being a military pilot, as much as I don't have the balls to do what any of them do, and I never had the guts to sign up to the military, though I might have liked to, doesn't mean that we accept what they say uncritically. And in Ryan's case, I find it unpersuasive. I don't mean to say that it's not important. It's very important. It's very significant what he's doing. Because I think at worst, it could save the lives of pilots.